Welcome back to another tutorial. In this tutorial, I'll show you how to make a simple inventory system that will appear in front of you when you lift your hand, and you can have whatever you want here. As you can see, I have a back button, and if I choose back, it goes back to its previous place. And I'll meet you in the tutorial. Okay, I'm back, and don't worry about this vector tree. We're gonna place this to the side for right now. Sit down. Just place it down anywhere. You can recolor it or anything if you want. I'm just going to recolor it to the color I got on right now. And you can have the text say whatever you want. I'm just going to use a back button because we are going to need a back button for this to actually work. You can scale it up or down if you want. We want to give this a tag. So whatever tag you want, I am going to give this the tag of inventory. Should probably give it the tag of inventory too. Now that we have our tag, now we are going to get a clamp. So type in clamp and get a clamp. And you can use a trigger zone, but I would use a I would use the interaction volume because when people hover over the button, it will tell them whether it's the back button or not, and it will actually give them a choice to click it rather than just put their hand over it and it will work. So go ahead and get that interaction volume. We're just going to move this up and move this up. You can go ahead and configure them and disconnect them if you want. I'm not going to disconnect them for this tutorial, but you can. After we got our interaction volume on our text, we're going to connect our text to the bottom of the clamp and our interaction volume to the top of the clamp. And of course, we're going to change this to back, change the text to back. So when you hover over it, it says back. Now that we're done with that, let's work on the circuits. First, we're going to get a, well, it depends on what hand you use, but I am going to get a right hand, player right hand, was it velocity? Yeah, player right hand velocity. Now it just depends on what you want to activate it. You can have a button here or anything else, but I'm going to use a velocity so you can just raise your hand and the inventory pops up in your face. And you can also keep this local player so it affects everybody in the room. Once you get the right hand velocity, we are going to get a vector split. So go ahead and type in vector, and we're going to place it right next to this, and we're going to get a greater than chip after this. Well, greater than or equal to. And we are going to connect this to the Y value. So when we raise our hand at a certain speed, which is what velocity does. So if we raise our hand, I think 3.5 is a good number. Okay, and now that we have that, we are going to get a event receiver. So get an event receiver, and the event receiver will be a update 30 hertz a second, which is at the bottom. Then after we have that, we're going to get an if chip. So if the speed of our right hand is over 3.5 when we raise it up, then this will be true. And the reason we're using update 30 hertz a second is so that the inventory stays in front of your screen. So you can't just pop it up and it just goes away. You actually got to click the back button for it to go away. Now that we have this, we're going to get an int variable. So type in int and it should come right up. Make sure this is connected to the thin output. And we are going to get an add chip to put underneath of it. We are going to connect this together like this, and it's going to go up by 1. So whenever we raise our hand up, you see that it's not doing anything because velocity is about speed. So if we raise our hand up fast, it's going to add a few numbers because it's updating 30 hertz a second. Now that we got that, we're going to get an equals chip. And place it right here and place an if chip next to that equals chip. So when this equals 1, we're actually going to have it activate another int variable chip. This chip ensures that when you raise your hand up, that the inventory only appears in front of your screen run one time and it doesn't be glitching out and stuff. So go ahead and connect this like this. We're going to name this one differently because if they're not named differently, as you can see, this one is 4 and this one is 4. So make sure to name your variables differently, otherwise they're going to affect each other. I'm just going to add a 1 on the end of this. That should suffice. And what we are going to do is we're just going to copy both of these up here. We're going to use this later to reset them. But for right now, I'm going to reset this one back to 0 and disconnect the update 30 hertz a second. So when I accidentally raise my hand, it doesn't add numbers to that. Now that we're done with this, let's get to the inventory circuits. So type in rec in the search palette, get rec room object, get first with tag. We're just going to go ahead and place that down right below here. And as I believe the tag should be inventory, but whatever you have as a tag, type it in here. And remember, the tag is case sensitive and everything. So inventory. So make sure it's spelled completely correct. And if it is, it's going to tell you the object right here, which is the text, which has the tag. Now that we have that, let's move this over and down a bit. Now we're going to want to get a get position chip. The reason we're getting a get position chip is so we can save the position of the text with a vector variable. And the reason we want to save the position of the text with a vector variable is so when we hit back, it goes back to the spawn location. I was going to have it run on a timer, and you can have it run on a timer, but if it's going to be like a inventory screen, you probably don't want it to be a timer. You probably want it to go back whenever the person hits the back button. So therefore, we're going to get the position of the text, and whenever we raise our hand and it adds 1 over here, it is going to save the text vector. Yeah, it's going to save the text vector, and whenever you hit back, it's going to go back here. Okay, now we are going to get a transform chip. Oh, I mean a position chip. Oh, make sure to type in set position and it should come right up. we are going to place it right here and make sure that it's connected to this. So when we raise our hand up, it's going to set the position, but we are going to get the position that it's going to set. We are going to connect this to the text, by the way, because we're setting the position of the text. Now what we're going to do is get a local player chip. Get local player. Just saying, this is inventory system might not work too well in multiplayer because it's using a lot of local player chips, and because it's using local player chips, it may not know where to teleport the inventory things. So if you are going to use this in multiplayer, you are going to have to specify the people's names with a get all player chip. Okay, so now that we got our get local player, we're going to get the position of the local player. And if you don't know, when you get the position of the local player, it gets the position of the head. It doesn't get the position of your body. So if we go ahead and get a vector now, we're going to get a vector create. And we're going to place it right below the get position. Once we get the vector create, we are going to get a add chip. And what we are going to do is we are going to add the position of our player to the vector create. And I know I spawned in this one, but this is where this is going to come in. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab this. Plays this here. These numbers are good for the these numbers are good for inventory because it will make it so it's down enough. The X and Z values are good. So just go ahead and connect that there. And since we have that, go ahead and connect that to the position. And now when we go ahead and connect this to the update 30 hertz a second, this should spawn in front of us when we raise our hands up fast, which it looks like we need to change the number a little bit. That always happens a bit, but as you can see, it's not following me around for right now, but I will show you how to do that. Go ahead and reset the position of everything. Now that we have that, go ahead and get another set position chip. And this set position chip is going to be how we get this back here. So when we press this interaction volume on the back, it's going to take the target, which is the text, and the position will be what saves here. And of course, after we do that, we're going to want to yeah, we're going to want to connect this to the variables so they reset. And we are going to get another if chip. We're going to place it right down here. Reason we're getting another if chip is so the inventory stays in front of our face. And the reason we can't just connect it like this is because, as you see, we don't need to raise our hands or anything because it's already in front of our face. So go ahead and connect this to the other if chip. And we're going to connect the thin value to the set position. And this is actually going to be if this equals 1. So we're going to copy both the equals and if chip. Well, we're actually not going to copy the if chip, just copy the equals chip. Go ahead and connect it to here. And if it equals 1, then it's going to constantly stay in front of your face until you hit this, and then it will reset to 0. Now I'll explain how it works just to conclude the video. So it takes your right hand velocity, which we split down to the y value. 3.5 is a good velocity value for raising your hand. It updates 30 hertz a second. The then value adds 1 to this, but since it's updating 30 hertz a second, it adds more than 1. So I added it equals an if. So once it equals 1, it will add 1 here. And this will be the value that stays 1. And that's why when you are not raising your hand, it's still going to stay here until you reset it back to 0. And then once you do that, it will save the position of the inventory chip, and it will also be a position of it will take the position of the local player and a few numbers. You may need to mess with these a little bit. The Z value is a little bit messed up for me, so I'll just go to 0.25. I think that should be good. And just connect that to the position, and then once you hit the back button, it should go back to the position. So like this. And if you want, you can actually keep it this way, and the position of it will change while you're here, which is really nice. So if I change it to 0.15 right now, you're going to see an immediate change to it. And then once I click this, it will go back. If you enjoyed this video, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.